Hello and welcome to Let's Talk, our award-winning podcast series produced and delivered to you by Hazel and Betty Ford. I'm your host, William C. Moyers, and over the years I've been fortunate to interview many colleagues and experts and fellow travelers, all of whom are committed to helping people overcome addiction to alcohol and other drugs. What a lineup we've had. But among them all, there's nobody quite like Jerry Moe, my guest today. Jerry is the National Director of the Children's Program at Hazel and Betty Ford, which means that over the course of his long and inspiring career, Jerry has touched the hearts and souls of thousands of girls and boys whose parents and families have been harmed by substance use and misuse. Jerry joins me today at an important milestone in his journey. Welcome, Jerry Moe.
Always good to be with you, William. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Big milepost for you. What is it?
Retirement.
Retirement. Do you ever think you'd say that word and mean it?
Absolutely not. No. The talk at the Betty Ford Center is they were just going to take me out back to Fisher Hall, and that would be it right there. So,
how do you retire when somebody has the passion that you've had for children? You can't turn it off.
well, I don't think you retire in the classic sense of retiring.
Yeah.
I mean, my heart is always with this work, with the mission of Hazel and Betty Ford. And so it's going to be a matter of me being able to channel that in new ways while I balance my life a little bit more with family and grandkids and some fun pursuits.
Let's talk about your investment in children over the decades. How long have you been doing this kind of work, helping people?
Well, if you include the time that I worked in the Redwood City School District, it's been over 44 years.
Why children? Why young people?
I think part of it is because I never grew up.
What do you mean?
I just never grew up. I'm not an adult. I'm really just a little kid in an adult body. And kids have told me this many, many times. So there's just a love for children. They need safety and they need protection. They need love and education and understanding. And William, as you know also well, sometimes this disease gets in the way of providing those things to boys and girls.
And you knew that personally, didn't you?
I knew it personally. I knew it personally not only in my growing up and how I got affected by the alcoholism in my family, but just watching my mom and dad, who both grew up in painful families where there was addiction. And as children, they never got help. Now, they got help when they were adults, which was wonderful, but there was still that child part inside that had yearned from things that they just never got. Not because they weren't loved, not because they weren't cherished, but this insidious disease gets in the way of the love that people have for each other getting expressed consistently. And so I could see that in them. I could see it in my brother and sister.
And you brought that passion, you brought that personal expertise and that professional acumen, you brought it to the Betty Ford Center. What year was that?
1998. I laugh. It's so long ago.
Yeah, 98. And you came there. What'd you come there to do?
Came there to really do a couple of things. One is to revamp the entire program. And so basically to make it much more child-friendly, to work with the family members, whether it was a mom or a dad or a grandparent, to make it engaging so they would allow their children to participate. Because unfortunately, the way laws are written, we can't help kids without guardian consent. And also to take advantage of all of the wonderful things that were available at the center, such as a swimming pool and an auditorium that we turn into a playground where we play hide and seek in the dark and ghosts in the graveyard and zombies, among other things.
But how do you balance the seriousness of the issue with the need to heal children and still have fun?
The word's right in the question. It's the balance part of it all. It's how to take a serious subject where little boys and girls are taught, we don't talk about this, we don't trust other people, we don't feel, and yet to do so in a playful kind of way. So for example, when we want children to begin to see all the baggage we carry around, have them carry a bag of rocks. When we talk about this awful disease, have someone personify the disease. So it's engaging and it's fun and it's heartbreaking in the same moment. William, there will be times in group where a boy or a girl will go from laughing in one moment and crying in the next. And I think the other piece which really sets the Hazelden Betty Ford Children's Program, apart from any other children's program that I know of anywhere in the world, is it's 4 days, it's 25 hours. So we really have an opportunity to build a relationship with boys and girls. It's not, we'll see you for an hour, we'll see you for an hour and a half, then we'll see you next week. No, we eat with them, we swim with them, we play with them, we do group with them, we cry with them sometimes. And so it's balancing their children, and so to engage them, it must be done in a playful way. And I'm amazed because my favorite day in the whole program, people ask me this all the time, is the second morning, is when kids come back and what they say and what their parents say. They say, this is like camp. This is like camp. Where else would you go when you're dealing with a potentially fatal disease that your mom or your dad or your brother or sister have, and yet you come away saying, oh, this is like a camp. So the balance is the key.
Yeah.
Right there.
The balance is the key.
Balance is the key.
Where did you get the idea for the bag of rocks?
Every one of these activities has evolved through the years. Seriously, and sometimes I'll look back and say, what was I thinking? So the bag of rocks actually started out as the bag of potatoes. And you know when you go to the store and you buy produce, you put them in the little bags? Sure. So all these potatoes on the floor. And kids would come and put them in one of those produce bags, and they'd lock their elbow and they'd walk around and feel the feelings of it. And I was one time doing a program with migrant farm workers in Central California. Remember, I'm a Northern California guy originally, and I could see that I'd offended them, that I'd done something that was culturally inappropriate. But because I was coming from a really kind and caring place, they didn't tell me till the end. And they said, food is sacred. It's a great activity. You can't use food. You got to find something else. So it evolved. And then I'm at Sierra Tucson in the desert. What do they have in the desert? Rocks. And then I go to my Native American friends wanting to make sure, is this culturally appropriate? You know what the response was? Yes, for 2 reasons. There's nothing that's been on this Mother Earth longer than rocks have been. And rocks have sacred healing in them. And so you start out with something, and then, you know what? You let the kids be the judges. They are always teaching me. They have taught me 1,000,000 times more things than I'll ever teach them. And they are brutal. They do not know how to be tactful. Listen, that sucks. That is really awful. Don't do that to us again, Jerry Moe. No, 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 no. And so, you know, gosh, they give the seal of approval. But it's always with the challenge. How do we make programs fit children and families and not make children and families fit the program? And Hazelden Betty Ford's Children's Program has done that forever.
Do you remember any of the, I mean, surely you must remember some specific children along the way, some of the specific cases, their names, things like that?
I'll tell you that I got a call. It would have been the 4th of July a year ago. You know, at this point in my life, with no children at home, but grandchildren lurking nearby, but they have their own parents.
Right.
I'm not the parent. I'll work holidays so my staff can be. And we have a staff with a lot of little ones. I'm working 4th of July, 2020, and I get a call. And it's from a gentleman calling me. He tells me his first name, no clue. Just got his 37-year medallion. First treatment center they worked at, Redwood City, California. And we talked for a little bit. And he said, my daughter, Sarah, she was in your program. She was 10 years old at the time. And I'm quickly doing the math. I'm using my fingers, checking out the toes. She's 47 years old. And so she said, and she's right here. And he hands her the phone, and she's not ready for that, I can tell. She feels embarrassed and awkward. So we talk. She's got 3 kids. She is a teacher. She's had this brilliant career. We talked for a few minutes. And then I asked her, what do you remember about the children's program? She said 3 things, William. Said, number 1, the bag. It wasn't rocks then. It was potatoes. The bag. She just called it the bag. So I remember you playing the disease and how scary that was, and to watch the disease grab a hold of someone I love, and then he couldn't get away, and I couldn't make him better. And I said, is there anything else? And this was the one that got me. She goes, yeah. 3rd thing I remember, how much you loved us, how much you cared about all of us.
Yeah. Yeah. And she could remember that all these years.
37
decades
years later.
Yeah. Love seems to take a back seat when addiction is driving.
It gets lost because the disease is so big and so selfish and so powerful.
And during the opioid epidemic, you must have been particularly keen to the fact that a lot of these children were literally losing their parents, either through the grip of addiction or they were dying from the illness. I mean, there's never an easy moment in the children's program, is there?
The easy moments is when everybody's simply being a kid, and that includes the staff as well. It's, well, I tell you, and thank goodness I had this opportunity. So it was January last year, January 2020, and I got to do a children's program in Center City. Minnesota, and think about main campus of Hazel and Betty Ford. Think of the history there.
Right.
Oh my gosh! I walk on that stage of Bigelow Hall where all the patients go for lecture, and think about all the iconic people who've been in the field. And the moment we had two little girls. We had one little girl's about 11, and she was very adult-like, and then she had her 6.5-year-old sister, and so and they were too serious. So I said, you know what we're going to do? All right, come on, we're stopping group right now. We're going to go play some ding-dong ditch. And we're going to go, and I know where some of the staff are right now, and we're going to knock on the door, and we're going to run. And that's exactly what we did. The clinical leadership team was having a meeting. We got them twice before they figured out who it was, and we would knock, and we would all run, and they would squeal with delight. Just kids getting to be kids and building that relationship.
Yeah, over the decades.
Been
doing that. Jerry, we've only got a couple minutes, but talk about another highlight among highlights, the relationship with Sesame Street. What did that mean to you professionally and personally?
Oh, it's amazing. I was actually at the airport here in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and I got a text. The people at Sesame Street wanted to talk to me. And I'm thinking, the first place I went, first thought is, how cruel. Who is doing this to me? Come on, this is like bucket list kind of stuff. How could this be? How could this be? And in talking with Sesame Street, my goodness, I watched Sesame Street with my 3 kids. Yeah. And they found an activity. They couldn't figure out who did it. Sis Wenger and Nakoa helped with that. But an activity called the 7 C's. And after all these years, they found it and they said, it's fun, it's engaging, it's simple, and we want to use it. And what's it going to take? And I said, it's yours. Are you kidding me? I love Sesame Street. I love everything Sesame Street stands for. And so, and I had no clue at the beginning how big this was going to be.
Right.
I had absolutely no clue. And we went back and forth. I think maybe the biggest thing, they kept wanting to call it the Substance Abuse Initiative. And I kept saying, no, it's not substance abuse. It's addiction. Because Carly's mom's in treatment because she's got a disease where she can't stop. And so don't call it substance abuse. Call it what it is, addiction. And they really listened. And then working on scripts and the digital storybook. And, they came out and filmed.
Yes.
They listen to how they said this. They said to me, we want to find a provider to showcase in all of this. And it's got to be somebody that is passionate and it's caring. And they look at me, and someone not as old as you, Jerry. And so I offered a couple of people, but with Cynthia Galaviz, they came out. And I wasn't there. But there's Helene Photius' leadership again.
Yes.
She got that whole thing organized. Sesame Street spent 2 days with us on campus and loved it, I am told. So just a highlight of the career. And the biggest was being on set.
Yeah.
You go in there, you go through security. I'm like a little kid on a field trip, but I have no adult supervision, so I'm running wild. And they're showing me in, and they go, to the left is Orange is the New Black, and to the right is Sesame Street. I stood there for a couple seconds. I go, no, Sesame Street. But to watch them film a couple of the segments that I edited the scripts and was part of that, and then to have them ask, and Sis Wenger was with me from Nakoa, to ask us, what do you think? And all these incredible people, and say, well, maybe we need to do it again, and here's what we need to do, and for them to listen. So truly a highlight. And one of my youngest granddaughters Amelia Grace is 4. But she was 2.5 when I showed her the picture of me with Elmo. And she just looked at it and looked at me, and you could say that wheels are spinning, and then asked me, she says, "Poppy, is Elmo ever going to come over and play with you? Could I play too?" So,
Jerry, we've only got a minute or so left. I'm talking to you here and on the set in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. It's the fall of 21. You'll be retiring, as you announced, soon. What do you think the legacy of the children's program will be in your absence over the years to come?
I think it will grow. I look at it in terms of evolution of healthy programs. William, you've been part of Hazelden for years. You've seen programs really continue to grow, to be evidence-based, to truly make a difference in people's lives. So I felt like in my time there, I took Mrs. Ford's legacy and strengthened and built upon it and laid a new foundation, and we built a couple of stories. But I got to tell you, our new leader, Helene Photius, she's going to build a skyscraper because we're going to serve more children than we've ever served before. Not only just in terms of, come to Hazelden, come to Betty Ford Center, come to Colorado, and we'll do a program. No. We're going to reach more boys and girls by creating more products. So there might be, a little girl somewhere in Kentucky who we can't get in a program, but now we can do it virtually. So we're serving those boys and girls. And more books, more apps for the Beamer character. So we're going to reach more and more people, and we're going to get back to something we did a long time ago. We're going to train more people how to do this work. Because I don't understand why it isn't a requirement from the Joint Commission on the Accreditation of Hospitals that every treatment center has a family and a children program, or they don't get licensure. That's what I hope for someday. So Helene's taken what we've created. She's been there. She's at the helm. Her leadership is stellar. I mean, that's the easy part of me leaving. I have absolutely no concern about the growth and the development of the program. That's taken care of. I will remain a donor. I will remain committed to this work and what it means, and also allow Helene and her team to take it in some new and exciting ways.
In the spirit of what you just talked about, Jerry, thanks for all you've done for this organization, for the children of the past and the present and the future. Jerry Moe, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, William.
It's a reminder that all things must pass. Many people have come to Hazel and Betty Ford to work. They do their best work. They help people. They too move on. But among them are those who become giants, legendary in the organization and in this field. Betty Ford, Dan Anderson, Dr. James West, Pat Butler, and now Jerry Moe, whose influence will be felt for generations to come. A generation of girls and boys who were freed from the onerous weight of their own bag of rocks to grow up and to rise into resilient, healthy young adults, parents, and even grandparents. Thank you, Jerry, for all you have done for all of us. Take good care.